Welcome to this episode of the Million Dollar Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and let's get started. We are back with Chip Chilson, legendary cycling and ski coach from Aspen, Colorado. And I asked Chip to come back because I wanted him to tell us the story of how there's a lot of lessons packed into specific examples. And there's one specific example that was a real highlight for me to hear about. And I think you'll learn a lot from it too. And so, Chip, welcome back.
Larry, thank you for having me back. It's my pleasure.
One of the things that I just think is a lifetime achievement for a couple of our friends, Mark and Todd. We'll just call them Mark and Todd for now. But getting while you coach them up to do the Leadville 100, and Todd, we talked a little bit about it the first episode, and that was he had. Well, I'll let you tell the story about Todd, and then we'll bring Mark into it later. But there's just a lot of lessons about this. But the end result, I'll tell you, the end of the story is both of them finished the Leadville 100, and that is 100 miles through some of the steepest mountains, most rugged terrain, and I don't know how long it took them to finish, but I mean, it's like a huge lifetime achievement to just finish this race one time. And so, talk about how that happened.
Well, it goes back to a foundation that I started working for, and a masterful athlete, a world champion and Olympic bronze medalist, Chris Klug, uh, asked me to come on board. He is a real passionate about doing the Leadville 100. As you said, it's a real hard man's event. It's 103 miles actually, starting in world famous Leadville, Colorado, at 10,500 feet. And the whole race is basically from 10,000 feet all the way up to 12,500 out and back through the mountains and passes. That's how I got started with these two individuals you're talking about. They came on to the Chris Klug Foundation, which is an organ donation foundation for people that need an organ, and they had family members that got them interested in uh, Leadville 100 and raising money for that. So grateful to Chris Klug and all the people I met down the road. But Todd and Mark were both really special interest stories for that event.
And then so at some point, Todd is involved in the organ donor program. He comes to Aspen, gets involved in cycling, and he decides he wants to get in this Leadville 100. I didn't know Chris was big in the Leadville 100. I knew he
Yeah,
was.
Chris Klug.
I knew he was a snowboarder and had the kidney transplant, and he's got a miraculous story, and I'm going to interview him as soon as I can. He and I can kind of chase each other down, but anyway, I didn't know he was big in the Leadville 100. But talk about so Todd decides he's going to get in the Leadville 100. You have to have something kind of captures your imagination, and that's where the story really started for Todd, didn't it?
Absolutely. Chris Klug started the Organ Donor Foundation via, he got a quick story. He got his organ prior to the 2002 Olympics. Healed from that, went on to win an Olympic bronze medal, started his foundation. Many people saw the Organ Donation Foundation. Chris is a phenomenal athlete, world class. Obviously, he's an Olympian, loves biking, outdoor activities, and he's you know, semi-pro mountain biker in his own right. Phenomenal,
I didn't know that.
strong, and anyway, he's passionate about Leadville and people that want to get on board and raise money for the Chris Klug Foundation and organ donation. Todd Rurup was one of them. He came on board living in Chicago, started training for the event. Definitely typical Chicago businessman with, very smart, big goals. The first year was a definite struggle because he's trying to train from Chicago. He came out to a couple of our Leadville camps, almost made it the first year, but not quite. didn't make the cutoff time the second year. He came back and was almost there again. Didn't quite make it.
What's the
He
cutoff
finally
time?
ended up.
What's the cutoff time now?
I think the cutoff time at one of the checkpoints is right at about 7 hours. You get a medal, you get a belt buckle if you come in under the 12-hour mark. But if you don't make the cutoff times, then they'll pull you from the race because they don't want you to come in after dark.
Yeah,
But
the logistics. Yeah.
Todd came. It actually starts in the dark at about 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. And third year, Todd comes back. He had moved to Colorado with his family, realizing that he definitely wanted to pursue a much healthier way of life. He was able to run his business from his home in Colorado. The third year was a winner. It was a game changer for him. He finished the Leadville 100 and came in well under 12 hours and got his belt buckle.
And that was the year he was out here training with you, the more full time, right?
He went right into it full bore. He was very passionate about that event. It's a bucket list event. Very few people can finish it. Um, he jumped on board. Moved out here again full time. Bought a home out here. Was able to run his Chicago business from his home, and we trained heavily for a strong 6-month period before the event. Leadville's just obviously on the other side of the hill from Aspen. We were over there every 10 days, riding, pre-riding. He dove right into it, and he did a masterful
Well, of
job that
course,
year.
you couldn't go you're in the winter. You're on the, you're inside on the cycling machines, but you can't get out on the hill until the snow stops. But you're still warming up. You're still training, and Mark came along. Mark lives out here. He was already out here. He's been an athlete, but he had never World Cup skier, but he had never competed. And really probably never thought about the Leadville 100. And you got him caught up in it. He decided he wanted to be a part of it. So y'all trained together, or they trained together, as I understand it.
That's true. I mean, the three of us actually ended up training together on many occasions. Specifically going to Leadville, which is just a 40-minute drive from Aspen, going over the pass, getting on course, and riding every single bit of the 103 miles, and riding and pre-riding and riding over and over all the climbs, all the descents. Mark and Todd were a great story of commitment, dedication, desire to get that buckle, and they did a great job.
And talk about having the buddy system. I feel like having both of them as being able to train together a lot rather than just themselves with you as the coach, but having a little peer pressure that they put on each other. I felt like that had something to do with both of them finishing too.
Absolutely. Great friends, like any sport, going out and playing with your friend in any sport, a buddy in the weight room, in this case, two great cyclists that they became. They pushed each other. And when it came to race day, it's like, think about it. You get on a bike, you really want to have some fun. You want to see if you can beat your buddy. And those guys worked hard on. The outcome was extremely good and positive on both sides. They both finished well, and both got their buckles. It was a great day for both of them.
And talk about Mark's accident, though. Where Mark comes into the story is ordinarily he would just be an average story of the guy trained hard and he went and completed the race. But things don't always work out that way. Tell him the story of Mark.
Here again, Mark's an exceptional athlete. I mean, he is definitely a Renaissance man, and his story is pretty amazing. But former World Cup skier, great athlete, great biker. Just makes sense. He trained extremely hard. We actually started way back in the wintertime in January, both indoors and outdoors. Going down to Moab, Utah in February and finding warmer temperatures. I did a lot of racing in between, a lot of periodization, worked hard. 10 days before the event, he's doing his final little short mountain bike race, and he goes over the handlebars and does a 3rd-degree separation on his shoulder. It was like, okay, well, if you look at possibilities there, I mean, a lot of the tour guys, a lot of the big racers, they tape it up, get a little injection, and get after it. And I told Mark, we've come too far. Let's just kind of monitor it day by day. Long story short, he lines up for the Leadville 100, and he finished it well under time to get his buckle. I mean, with a 3rd-degree separation. It was an amazing day. Amazing day.
It's interesting to hear you tell the story and then hear him tell the story, because as he tells the story, when the accident happened, in his mind, it's over. I'm done. It's going to take forever to recover from this. And he's sitting in intense pain in the hospital. And in comes Chip. And Chip says, okay, take the rest of the day off.
When you look at a world-class athlete like that, and it is good to look back and have a little bit of a laugh, but with great respect, it wasn't a full-on tear.
But he thought it was. And there's another lesson. There's another lesson there, Chip, though, that when tragic things happen and you're working, you've busted your gut. At this point, you guys have been uncounted times up to this 100-mile race. Like you're saying, you've been up and down it, you've scoped it out, you've scouted it, you've practiced this, that, and the other. Then right before, a little over a week out, he tears that shoulder, goes over the handlebars. In his mind, it's hopeless. But that's the value of a coach who can keep perspective and say, okay, don't worry about it today. But then you brought him around like tomorrow. You said, what did you say? Tomorrow? What kind of, how did you get him back? Get him back?
Well, I mean,
because you had to convince him, Chip, that he could do it. It was not a matter of just telling him what to do. You had to get him back believing he could make it happen again. And so talk about how you talked him through that.
Part of it, Larry, was the luck of growing up with Mark. I mean, we grew up as kids in the ski club. I knew his talents. He raced at the highest level in the world in alpine ski racing on the World Cup. He also had some unbelievable injuries, where he had knee replacement, knee scopes. He was a product of Dr. Richard Stedman, the knee surgeon. He knows pain. This did not require surgery. So it was just, hey, Mark, let's take a step back for the next couple of days. Let's see if we can get a cortisone shot in this thing, and let's regroup. And it worked. He knows how to handle pain. He knows how to manage pain. We got everything managed well, and he was able to line up. And his talent on the bike was a big part of it too, knowing how to ride smoothly and getting his shoulder wrapped properly. It was a no-brainer.
It was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer for you, but it was a big brainer for him, because even in spite of all that, that was pain in the past. There's something about pain. When you have an accident or you have pain, something goes wrong. It's like, forget all the pain in the past. This hurts. This is killing me. I'm dying over here. It
was my job. That's a good point, and well said. I mean, it was my job to get him out of the pain cave. So we worked with the therapist, we worked with the doctor to get pain relief through cortisone shots and proper taping of the shoulder, and it worked. So when he lined up that day, he was in minimal pain to no pain.
Yeah.
And his athletic prowess and his ability to handle pain as a world-class athlete all his life. Basically he's not in the air racing at 70 miles an hour down a ski slope. He's got his tires on the ground, so he knew how to manage the race. He did quite well. So it was his man of Mark believing in himself as well.
And how would you say, getting that phrase you tossed off there, getting out of the pain cave, how do you feel like that applies in life? Because that's just something you got to deal with all the time, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, we all have our stuff, so to speak, right? We all live with having to manage our lives. It's a roller coaster, ups and downs, personal pain, physical pain, psychological pain. And it's a matter of addressing it, knowing how to turn it off and, you know, come up with a sunny side up attitude. But that's a whole nother discussion in terms of the psychological aspect. But yeah, I mean, you, me, all of us, we deal with a certain amount of it, but it's a matter of understanding we all have great qualities and to bring them out of every individual. That's not hard to do, really. If you've been on the coaching side of it, it's recognizing that and giving them the opportunity to be their best self every day.
But isn't that, wouldn't you say that that's the key? That's the main thing as a coach, that it seems like the fundamentals and the techniques and working out the schedules and things like that can be pretty much pretty easy because you've done it so many times. There's only so many options. But dealing with people psychologically, getting them to stay on track and not get sidetracked or get depressed because of pain or anything going on, emotional things in their life. Don't you feel like that's one of the biggest things that you bring to the table in terms of helping people finish the things they start?
That's what I really enjoy. It's getting to know them on a one-to-one basis. Again, it's like a prescription from a doctor. You come in, you sit down with the doctor, he analyzes you, does his testing, and I do the same thing. It's getting to know them on a one-to-one basis, a friendship basis, looking at their life, understanding what they do. Family first is always my saying. Understanding the, make sure you get on board with your family in terms of what you're doing to stay healthy. And that's where the exciting part is to kind of take it a little bit out of the athletic side, the fitness side, and understanding what makes them tick as an individual, and then being able to plug in, a good program that makes sense for them. That's going to be fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, and that's what you're so good at seeing the good in people and reinforcing that and reminding them. And you're a great appreciator of people, and that allows you to treat them differently. And I have to feel like some of those skills paid off with you, like you talk about the family, raising the your three adult children now, all of them completely different, but all of them doing well, having their own families, except your youngest daughter. And once she gets out of COVID prison, she's going to go take over the world. And you just got to feel like those same techniques. It's the same way you deal with your family to help your kids, your close friends around you reach their peak. Peak performance is not everybody's going to be a World Cup skier, but they can reach their peak in the areas that they have gifts for. And you're never going to find out what that is until you get to know them and spend some time with them. And so what do you think about what would you tell, just top of my head, what do you think about scheduling, and staying with a routine? And part of getting out of the pain cave and not giving in to disasters is to stay on your schedule, to stay on that workout schedule. Every day you've got certain things, performance goals to hit. How do you keep people on track for that, and how important is that?
Well, the way I keep people on track, I think, is the most important is you got to be creative. You got to make it fun. If it's not fun, you don't want to do it. Two, you got to make it exciting too. It's got to be a part of their day. That they're going to be. Everybody's got a job. Everybody works hard. They've got, uh, you know, classic 9 to 5. Then they have family, but they want to plug into that missing element, and that's just good health and fitness. So it's analyzing their day, coming up with a schedule, as you said, and that time that works well into their day, between their family and their work schedule, and take that short amount of time and make it worthwhile for them. That's when they can get excited.
And in terms of keeping the excitement up until they get the job done and to make a breakthrough, I know you had all of these kind of techniques you would use as I was dead on my feet, trying to make it up to the top of Maroon Bells. And I'd be just about ready to quit. And you would say, okay, take a sip of water or take 3 long sips of water. You'd have the thing to get my mind off of the pain. And then you'd say, or you'd say, get out the, whatever those little bars are, those little goos, and get some food in you, and or you'd say, oh look at those trees over there, look at those leaves. Aren't we the luckiest people in the world? Look at that view. You would do things to shift my mind off of the pain of the process of doing it, of developing the strength to be able to do it. And when you said that Mark was familiar with pain and pushing himself because he'd been a world class athlete before in skiing, that's part of peak performance, is dealing with pain or dealing with the pain of doing breakthroughs while you're developing skill, your lungs, your aerobic capacity, your strength, developing that mental toughness. A lot of that has to do with just getting through the next moment. Forget about the rest of the race. Just stay on track, get through the next stage, shift your mind. Break that obsession with the frustration you're going through right now, and say, shift your perspective. So, explain that.
Well, I think specifically with you and or Mark, I mean, two similar athletes in some ways. I mean, you guys are very determined. And a quick recollection there, Larry, with you is, we started out slow. We did not go for the gusto. It took many, many months to start biking at altitude, biking up to the Maroon Bells, biking up the pass. But you took the time and the effort out of your day to really work closely on the guided program, so baby steps, small steps up the ladder. With a guy like Mark, and you achieved your goals. I mean, that was pretty amazing. Uh, less people know, less be known to the people out there. Larry Weidel and I went to Moab, Utah. We trained down there. You put in the time, in the desert environment to log in big miles. Then we came back up to altitude, and you kept working away. But we took time. We kept it fun, and we worked up the ladder. And that way you were able to actually achieve your goals. With a guy like Mark, who's a world class athlete, who's worked at the highest level. It's a little bit easier in some ways because they know pain, deep, hard pain from crashing and falling at 70 miles an hour in the World Cup, and how to translate that into something like cycling and how to manage it. So his pain experience is pretty doggone high. Not to discount you, because I know you've known plenty of pain in your lifetime, but you guys are exceptional in terms of you have a good amount of high athleticism. You've been through a workout process entire life, so you know how to manage the pain. That makes it easier for me as a coach.
What would you say about learning to deal with pain for people who've maybe been in the comfortable lifestyle for quite a long time, but they know they're capable of more? They really want to break out. They want to break out in their business. They want to break out in, physically. They just want to get out and start doing some more stuff. And you're going to have to go through some stages of where things are not that comfortable as you're developing these new strengths and skills and things like that. What would you tell them about getting through pain or getting through those points where you just, to keep yourself from being overwhelmed to where you quit?
I think two words come to mind, Larry, and that's embrace it. But intelligently, I think no pain, no gain, all those lifelong adages we all hear. But coming in at low levels, you want to minimize the pain early on. Pain only comes in, if you want to call it pain, or I call it fun. The fun starts when you're adding intensity and intervals into any kind of a program. Um, it's really not that hard to recognize it and manage it and know when to add it or back it off. But just embrace the process. It's fun. A little bit of pain, a little bit of sweat goes a long way in terms of becoming a much stronger, much more viable person and athlete, just like you.
And I think, Chip, you put your finger right on the difference between people who are successful uh, in these things and others. If they're more focused on the fun of it and the reward of it than what they've got to do to get there, but also they don't drive themselves insane trying to hit some arbitrary standard of comparing them to other people. They just get in and start enjoying it. And you have to push yourself a little bit, to even get out of bed in the morning. But you just keep yourself focused on the fun of it. And it is fun to compete, and it is fun to get in better shape, and it is fun to be able to make it to the top of the hill when you never thought you could, and win races, break records, things like that. And what are some of the fun things, the adventures that you've had through cycling? Because you can look at cycling and say, well, it's just riding a bike around, but you've been able to, there's all kind of things people do in cycling. They have these races across America. They have local races, 10K, 50K, 100K. They've got race for the cure. Talk about and you've been to training in Italy. What are some of the things the great benefits that you've had from your life that you would look back on and say these were highlights?
Well, I think the thing about cycling, as we all become aging athletes and maybe you can't quite run or walk as you used to. I mean, sitting in a saddle is much easier. Number one, uh, what do they say? It's about as close as we can come to fly on our own. Get a little wind in your face, a little fresh air, and you can cover so much more ground and so much more beauty. Obviously, here in Colorado, we're so fortunate to have the entire high country at our disposal, whether we're in the lower valley on the bike path or you want to venture up one of the valleys. Cycling in itself or hiking, trail hiking, it just offers so much in terms of beauty. That's the first thing I think about, and in order to step up the ladder and see more and more of the beauty, if you want to do, a little 1 mile ride or 5 mile, or as you say, get into designated goal events, it takes a little time, but the beauty of the sport and what you can see in your surroundings is what makes it so viable.
Anyway, Chip, I appreciate you taking the time to kind of give some insights on coaching. And really high level coaching is not so much a lot of technical stuff, but just getting to know people and helping them stay on track and keep moving forward, and helping them keep perspective when they go through situations that are a little tough for them. So they stay on track and they're able to get where they want to go. So, anything that you want to add to wrap this up before we finish?
I think, yeah, the most part of this is have a positive outlook, keep a positive mind on your day to day life, in terms of, you know, trying to add a little bit of fun and fitness in there will make you much more productive in every way, from business, especially family, and then in your own personal health. So that's how I would take a strong look at my approach to every day.
It allows you to stay strong, and when you're strong, you're in your best position to be able to face whatever life throws you in a given day, and also when good things happen, to be able to take the biggest advantage of it too. So, anyway, Chip, thanks so much. A lot of great insights, and I'll look forward seeing you around town soon.
Larry, thanks again. I mean, it's definitely why the hell I'm winning. There's nothing like feeling good about yourself every day in terms of starting out with some positivity and a good program. So thank you for all the wisdom that you've given me and direction with my business.
And if people want to reach you, they would go to your website, or how would they go? How would they reach you?
They can go to aspensportsperformance.com, pull up my email and my address, or go to chip_Chilson at msn.com, or call me directly at 970-948-1212. Love to talk to anybody at any time.
All right. Thanks so much, Chip. And thank you for the great coaching you've given me over the years. So thank you.
It's been an incredible pleasure, and we're not done.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to you later. Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of $1 Million Mastermind with me, Larry Weidel. If I've helped you in any way, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. For more information like this, listen to our other $1 Million Mastermind episodes, and check out my Weidel Academy YouTube channel and visit us on WeidelOnWinning.com. I'm the $1 Million Mastermind, and until next time, go, go, go.